Hello everyone, Discord here, and welcome back to another Planet Zoo real life inspiration video. And today we are looking at the Siamang suggested by Dierenpark, who has fallen into my trap. You see, I wanted someone to suggest Siamang so that I could finally unveil another piece of the worst area of Parc Animalier de Bouillon. So let's start with that one. We are here in Bouillon, where we've got some Siamang who are in a bit of a brawl, a bit of a scuffle. Nothing too concerning just yet. You know, this is something that they may do if they encounter each other and they're just not in a good mood. I don't know. But let's look at the actual enclosure behind the mesh. Actually, let's start at the backstage over here. The big wall of backstage. We've already seen the jaguar and the lemur, and here is the Siamang one. Nothing too special here. And here is the enclosure for the Siamang. It's just so sad. I'm making jokes about this, like, that might be on me, maybe it's inappropriate, because this is just unacceptable. This is an EAZA zoo, and this is still not the worst part of it. That's the worst part. There is still an exhibit worse than this one. I don't understand how they can get away with it. Anyway, let's get to something a little bit better. Over here, we are in Dierenpark Amersfoort, where we've got a much larger, especially taller enclosure with tons of climbing opportunities, enrichment, foliage, things for the Siamangs to interact with and have fun with. It's also beautifully designed. I will say I'm not a huge fan of the rock work in the back, but whatever. The front facade is actually pretty nicely done with the glass, and especially the habitat immersion, bringing these planks through the glass, kind of connecting the enclosure with the viewing area. There's a little bit of a water feature even. It's just a vibe. You even got a little tower that you can climb up into. There's all education about Siamang around, kind of these awesome little drawings. Over here, when you're up here, you are on the same height as the Siamang swinging around, which is just super cool. Just look at all of that awesome stuff right there. We can also see the Siamang kind of resting on the rockwork, using the rockwork to climb around as well. They've got a bit of shelter up there, which is at an elevation. There's just a lot of cool stuff here. And if you're lucky enough, the Siamang might even come all the way up to the glass here, which I did not encounter, but it would be super awesome if they did. Yeah, over here you can see some of the signage, or well, just murals, and it says "without trees, no Siamangs," and you can see a forest being cut down there. So here's a fun little playground. It's also like swing like a Siamang. Are you able to do that? Really cute. Nice little bit of inspiration there. But that's it for Dierenpark Amersfoort, so let's move on to Burgers Zoo, where we are in the Rimba area, which has this huge habitat, which is a mixed habitat between bantang, hawk deer, elk deer, muntjac, and southern pig-tailed macaque. Tons of species here, including the Siamang. I'm not sure how much of the habitat the Siamang can actually get to physically. I don't know if they can climb down from these trees easily, or if they're like blocked off with hot grass or anything, because that's something that zoos do tend to do sometimes in mixed habitat like this. But we can see that Siamang do have access at least to all of the ropes and the trees up here, so you really get to see them in such a natural environment, and seeing them swing around an actual tree like this was just super awesome. I absolutely loved every second of it. So even if they can't get down, and I think they can, because they were on top of this little shelter over here, and I don't see why they wouldn't be able to climb down from that. But then again, maybe they're not. I don't know. I don't know how well they would mix with the other species otherwise. But still, it's super cool, and it's an awesome sight over here, having such a variety of species representing this ecosystem over here. It's just really cool. Over here you can see the pig-tailed macaque, and just more spaces for the deer and such. As we keep moving, we're also going to have a small look at the backstage area. We can see that it's not very themed. There's just a lot of climbing frames over here, and even more backstage holding in the back, which I guess that's why they call it backstage. But we can see the Siamang kind of using this space and using it to climb around, and it's all super cool. What's also cool is that they shift species around here depending on whatever they feel like, I guess. Over here we can see some gibbon in the backstage instead, so they're kind of vibing there as well. It's multifunctional. It's pretty neat. And on the other side here, as we're showing it anyway, we have, I think this is pretty much consistently used for the pig-tailed macaque over here. So yeah, I thought I'd show it anyway. It's pretty interesting to see those backstages. So next up, we are in the Zoo of Dortmund, where we are across the lion habitat that we saw pretty recently, and we've got this beautiful island over here where we can see the Siamang playing around, kind of chasing each other a little bit over there. Yeah, it's just a really big island. There is a bit of theming, there is a lot of climbing. The climbing isn't super tall, but you do get to see them swing around, and they do have a lot of like space, and it's a very long habitat. It's not very wide, it's not very big in that sense, but they can climb around and swing around for quite a long stretch, which is pretty cool. Over there you can also see their little indoor habitat. It's not something very major, but I guess it keeps them warm and dry when they want to be. But yeah, here you can see just how long that kind of climbing structure goes on for. That is really cool that they have something like that. So overall, definitely not a bad exhibit, although I do think it could use a bit more foliage and especially shade. Anyway, next up we have Zoo de Lille, where we have a much smaller island, but definitely a lot more substantial climbing structure with a lot more complexity to it. Simon can really go all over the place if they so wish. We also got a little backstage building all the way in the back there. Actually really reminds me of the kind of gibbon islands that Beeksberg used to have, which are now used for the Low-West monkey. As we look to the other side, there's some educational things and some like murals, and just another view of the island from here. And we can also see kind of the bridge going into their backstage there. You can see the Siamang kind of sitting on there, debating whether or not to go inside, I suppose. I really like this habitat when I saw it for the first time, and I hope it got you some Siamang inspiration. Let's move on to the final zoo already. Across from the tiger habitat in Zoo Osnabrück, we've got a Siamang enclosure, which is netted over and part of this kind of temple structure. We also saw it in the orangutan video. Yeah, this entire area has kind of that same theming going on, which I quite like. I don't like how straight and rigid it is. It's like all 90-degree angles. I feel like that could be a little more playfully set up, I suppose. But overall, I do like the enclosure over here. It's got some height differences. There is some planting around and a nice big climbing structure for the Siamang to explore. And as you go inside of the temple, you also have some indoor viewing into their indoor quarters. Tigers on one side, Siamang on the other. First you get another peek into the outdoor enclosure. I guess if you're walking from the other side, you get a first peek into it, which would be neat. But over here we've got the indoor area. So much like in Burgers Zoo, actually, we've got a kind of main, a bit better looking front area, and then there's some more like cage type stuff in the back. There is a little bit of a feeder over there hanging from the ropes where they kind of have to use their dexterity to get their food, which is a nice bit of enrichment right there. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the Zoo of Osnabrück already. And that was the last zoo, so we're gonna wrap up the video over here. Hope you got some Siamang inspiration today. Subscribe for more, and if you want to have your name featured on this screen, hit the join button, become a member today, and you'll also get early access to any other upcoming videos. You'll get to see them as soon as I finish editing them, instead of having to wait for the Wednesdays or the Saturdays for any other videos if I get around to making anything else. Anyway, thanks for watching, see you in the next one, bye bye!